This podcast is hosted on podhome.fm, the most modern podcast hosting platform. Podhome offers unlimited episodes and podcasts, and unlimited use of Podhome AI, which generates transcripts, clips, chapters, title suggestions, show notes, and much more. And all of that for just $15.99 a month or $185 per year. That's a steal. So go to podhome.fm and start your 30-day trial now. And enjoy the show with Joe.
Transmitting live from the Asylum Studios, deep in the bowels of Southwest Texas, it's the Joe Rooz Show. The show where we talk about anything and everything. Where nothing is sacred, nothing is watered down, and nothing is PC.
Alrighty. Hey folks, it is Monday, the 20th of April, 2026. I am Joe Rooz, and it is great to be with you guys once again, transmitting live, of course, at the Asylum, and doing the very best we can to bring you the best quality talk radio we can muster, without all the bluster. Welcome to the Joe Rooz Show. All right. Well, as I've already said, it's Monday, and it is certainly a Monday. It's been a Monday since about 12 o'clock this morning, and it's going to be a Monday all the way through until next Monday. Guarantee it, because every day's a Monday. No matter what you do, every day's a Monday. But we have a great guest lined up for you today. You know, most people say they want to write a book. They've got the idea, maybe even the first chapter, but they never finish it. Well, tonight we're going to be talking to somebody who actually did. J.M. Shaw spent years writing in private until a diagnosis of autism and ADHD forced her to rethink everything that she thought was holding her back. Now she's creating fantasy worlds built on something most writers avoid: real emotion. So the question is, what separates writers from people who just talk about writing? Before we get into that, though, we're going to do our usual housekeeping. So if you would, please head over to our website, joerooz.com. That's joerooz.com. And when you get over there, please make sure you look for that contact form. It's up in the pancake there in the upper right corner. And you could send us over a message. Let us know whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind, any questions, comments, cares, or concerns that you might have. Maybe you even have a complaint. You shouldn't have any complaints, but you might. And if you do, you could send it to us through there, and we'll give it the just attention that it deserves. And then, of course, maybe you have a suggestion for a guest or a topic you'd like us to discuss on the show one day. Send all of that stuff over to us and let us know what you are thinking. Now, if you're anything like me, you do not want to use the web form. Why? Because of the stupid caption nonsense. I hate that thing. Match the puzzle piece, find the bus, find the crosswalk, match the puppies, whatever it might be. It's a headache. So that's why we have an email address. So you can email me directly and bypass all that by sending me an email at info@joerooz.com. That's info@joerooz.com. Also, novel idea here. Not too many people think about this, but we do have a comment section. And it's right down there below on Rumble, and it's also down there on YouTube, if you're actually listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, which I don't know why anybody's still on YouTube. But to each his own. Rumble is the free speech platform. That's where you should be. We have our strikes already, 2 of them on YouTube. So we're waiting for number 3, and then we're out. Done. Not going to even bother. So if you want to stick with us here on Rumble at rumble.com/Joe Rooz. That's rumble.com/Joe Rooz. All right. Also, please don't forget that this is a live show weeknights at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have our Crypto Saturday show every other Saturday. We're starting that again on April the 25th. So I think that's this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. That's how everything kind of just blends together. So we'll be doing our resident crypto psychic. Marissa Lee will be joining us doing our crypto show for this weekend. Looking forward to that. It's been a while. A lot of interesting things going on in the crypto world, and it's important for us to stay up to date on that stuff. So all I'm going to say is I am very happy that I bought XRP when I did. That's all I'm going to say. We'll talk about the rest of that on Saturday. Tell you why. All right. So Check out the crypto show on Saturday. And then, of course, we have our Sunday show, our Sunday Bible study show every Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time. And we've been talking about, we've been going through, I should say, the book of Revelation. And we finished chapter 7 yesterday. Now, next week, we'll be getting into chapter 8. Interesting study. You need to check it out. If you haven't caught up to those episodes yet, please do that. And it would also be beneficial to you as we're going forward in this if you haven't checked out the dispensational series we did prior to the book of Revelation. It all goes together, and I keep telling you that as we're doing the show. So remember I say, do you remember we talked about this a couple of weeks ago? You remember we talked about this, and I pointed this out? Well, this is why, because here it is. So it's important. Check it out, all right? So plenty of ways and plenty of things for you to watch with this show. Please go back and check it out. Also, equally important, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends, your family, and your followers. Why is that? Because then you mess with the algorithm. And when you mess with the algorithm, you help us get found. So, like I've been saying lately, if you really want to aggravate somebody, send them a link to this show. It'll mess up their algorithm, and everything that we put out will show up on their feed, and then they will have to look at us. Okay, at some point, they're going to say, what the hell are these guys talking about? Let me see. And they'll check it out, and then, we get maybe another subscriber or follower, right? Whatever it takes. So we appreciate it. If you would, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends, your family, and your followers. Spread the love. All right, spread the love. All right, well, tonight's connection is brought to you as a courtesy of Creative Edge. Creative Edge, publicity at its finest for all creatives, your brand, and your future. Check them out. I have to fix that stupid timer on this thing. I never remember setting a timer on it, but there's a timer on it. So there we go. All right, there it is. Creative Edge Services. All right, creativeedge.services. Check them out. Great bunch of people there. Love dealing with them. Mickey is fantastic, as they say. And check them out. Creative Edge. All right. Well, with all of that said, tonight's guest is J.M. Shaw. She's a fantasy author out of Alberta, Canada. We're not going to hold that against her, who's been building stories since childhood, but didn't start sharing them publicly until much later in life. After being diagnosed with autism and ADHD in 2019, she reframed what she once saw as limitations into her creative strengths. Her work focuses deeply on human characters inside fantastical worlds, pulling from her own experiences with identity, focus, and feeling like an outsider. Today, she writes, publishes, and encourages other aspiring writers to do exactly the same. Folks, let's welcome J.M. Shaw. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All lies, right? Everything we said was lies. Nothing makes sense.
No, I mean, well, who doesn't want to just come online and just talk about themselves, right?
Nobody. I mean, why would they
Exactly.
want to?
Yeah.
These
We're all
all
boring.
these
We all feel boring, but
exactly. We're nobody. We're nobody special. Well, we might be special, but not in the sense that most people think special. But anyway, having said that, so we had a great conversation before the show started, and so just for the folks that are watching right now live, there is a thunderstorm brewing around out here, and as usual, whenever there's a major thunderstorm here in Eagle Pass, we tend to lose power. So my lights have been flickering here and there. And so if the power does go out, the show will obviously be wrapped, and then we'll rebook JM, and we'll get her back on the show, and we'll pick up a fresh start. All right. So disclaimer out of the way. Not my fault this time, at least. It's not my internet's fault. It's the weather. All right, JM. So I have some icebreakers for you. Are you ready, ma'am?
I am totally ready.
Okay. Here we go. What's something that you've learned that most people resist accepting?
That we're, whatever rough draft that we write, after we've edited it and we proofread it and we beta read it, it's not going to be perfect. There's always going to be something, and that's okay. It's supposed to be imperfect.
That's good. Yeah. You know what? Before the show, I asked you if you wanted the questions ahead of time. You said no, because I don't want to make it seem like it's scripted. That was probably the most scripted answer I've ever heard.
I'm sorry.
No,
I mean, it's true.
That's okay. That's fine. I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. I like to joke around. I try very hard to be serious, but it doesn't always work. All right, next one. What's your favorite way to waste time?
TikTok, phone, scrolling, forever, doom scrolling.
I hate
Caught
TikTok.
in the loop.
Well, we're gonna have to start sending you. We have to start sharing our show with you on your TikTok feed. So it messes up with your algorithm. Um,
Yes.
I hate TikTok. I really do.
Yeah. I
It,
don't. I hate it
it's
too. It's addictive.
yeah. I would say that, but my position is I don't think any grown adult man should be on TikTok. I don't. Just like I don't think any grown adult man should be on Snapchat. There's no purpose to it, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
I've resisted social media for so long. The only reason why I have social media is because of the show. Like I very rarely will ever post anything personal on there. It's always something with the show. And it's usually just, hey, we have a show today, with the
Well,
graphic.
for me, it's all the puppy and the animal videos and the fails of the week and stuff. I like laughing at other people's expense. That sounds really bad, but
No, it
that's
doesn't.
it makes me feel better about my life.
Well, that's good. I think that's what it's intended to do. There was one, I don't know if it was on TikTok or it was on Instagram. I don't remember which one. And I look at these things and I marvel that people sit around and they come up with these ideas to do these things. It's
Mhm.
like, don't you work? Don't you have a job? I mean, how do you pay your bills? I mean, it can't strictly be from TikTok. you know,
Yeah, I have no idea.
was the one I saw? What was the one I saw? It was some guy who's wearing a bathrobe, dark sunglasses, and he's feeding a pig with dancing chickens behind him.
That's interesting.
Like, like, what's wrong with your mind to even think
Yeah.
of something like that?
Is that a low point? Maybe that's his low point, and he wants to show us the low point so we can go up from there.
I would hope so, for his sake.
I hope so. I hope
I
so.
do. I truly do. All right, last one. What's a trend that you're glad disappeared?
Bell bottoms.
Okay. Yeah.
I just hope I heard they were trying to make a comeback. I don't think they've made a full comeback, but
No.
gosh, they were horrible the first time around. Why would we want to do it again?
True. I remember bell bottoms. Unfortunately, I was born in the '70s, so
Yeah.
I recall bell bottoms.
Yeah. The
Um,
only thing they're good for is soaking up water.
yes. Yeah. And it's funny because after my parents passed away, my sister and I got a box of photos, photo albums and stuff, and so we were kind of scrolling through them, and just all these pictures of me, especially because my sister was born later. She's born in
Yeah.
the '80s. Just all these pictures of me wearing these horrendous '70s style clothing and the bell bottoms and all those muted colors and just
Mhm.
like so depressing.
I think I went one day for school pictures and I was wearing like jeans, a t-shirt, and a suit jacket, but I had like 3-inch bangs that kind of folded over like that. And I had the big old headband and yeah, it was
Yeah,
horrible. I
I
burned it. Burned that
totally.
picture.
No, totally. I get you. I totally get you.
Yeah.
I have this one picture. I don't know where the hell I was going. It's like 7 years old. I was wearing a white tuxedo, and and my mom had me posing in all these pictures with the jacket over the shoulder, and all this stuff. And I'm looking at these pictures, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get rid of these things. These are terrible.
Yeah, that was brave of your mom as a 7-year-old to buy you or even possess a white suit for a child.
Yeah.
That's brave.
I think I had to be going to a wedding or something like that because I think around that time is when my uncle got married, and so I think that's what it may have been for. I don't know, but
Yeah.
all I know is I looked ridiculous. But especially by today's standards, I looked ridiculous.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I will never ever do that again. So yes, I am very happy about the bell bottoms, but I am going to bring up something that I'm glad disappeared. And a previous guest actually brought it up, and I was like, yes, the man bun.
Oh, that's right up there with the mullet.
Ah, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we
Yeah.
talked about the mullet too. Yeah,
Yeah. The
it-
mullet
it's
is trying to make a comeback as well.
in Canada. I heard. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Heard it's very popular
unfortunately.
up there.
I've seen a few kids coming out of the school when I'm waiting to pick up my kids, and I'm just like, "Why? Why? Your parents did that for you. Why?"
It's an easy haircut. Or,
Yeah, it's a
like
lazy hair.
only cutting two sides of your head. Everything else stays the same.
I
So
know, right?
that's all it
That's
is.
not even a good mullet. It's like a mohawk turned into a mullet.
There, yeah. Great point. Great point. I just want to
Yeah.
know, like, all these guys that still have the man bun, though. Like, when you're like 70, how is that going to look? No, well, Lord willing, you still have your hair at 70.
They'll
Some guys don't.
just face everybody. They'll face everybody. They'll put it low and they'll face everybody so nobody sees them from the sides. They can't tell it's there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a
Or if
very
it's
good.
low enough, they'll just hide it with their shirt.
That's a great point. I like that. It's good. Very, very good. All right, so we wasted enough time on this idle banter here. Although I appreciate it. I enjoy that sometimes more than the actual interviews themselves. But we did bring you on to talk about some very specific things. So let's get to that at least. Let's make Mickey happy today.
Yes.
We don't want to upset Mickey.
No, we do not.
Yeah, exactly. So you're up there in Canada again. We're not going to hold it against you. You're raising a family in Alberta. So what does day-to-day life actually look like for you outside of writing?
Oh, hectic. I mean, I homeschooled my kids for the first few years of school.
Oh, wow.
So theirs is only like their second year back to school or starting into school. So rush around in the morning, drag them out of bed by their toes, wrestle them downstairs, shove food in their mouth, push them out the door. And then I can breathe. And then I putz around the house trying to get all the chores done because I don't know if anybody else has kids, that every room they go into is a mess, and trying to clean while they're home. I've heard this analogy, and it's very perfectly correct, is that cleaning while your kids are home is like trying to brush your teeth while you're eating Oreos. It's not going to work. So you have to wait till they're gone, clean. So then I spend the time cleaning, and then once that's done and everything's done, I'm sitting down in a nice comfy chair, laptop on my lap, trying to do work. I'm getting a million emails, a million phone calls. Never fail, somebody's coming to the door during this time.
Of course.
So I don't know, they don't come to the door any other time except for when you get into something. But
of course,
if it's a good day, I can hyper focus and I'll forget the entire world exists. I mean, a tornado could sweep through our house, and as long as it doesn't mess my internet up or knock out my computer off my lap, I'm fine. I forget it. I just don't even know it's there. So I have to set timers for myself. Otherwise I'll forget to eat, sleep, and get up and move around.
Really?
It's like my hyper focus. So,
okay.
But then as soon as my kids come home, it's computer down, put it away, because there's no work happening when they get home. So, and it gets very noisy very fast because I've got two little boys and they are the noisiest kids in the world.
If you don't mind my asking, how old are they?
They're 9 and 11. And like me, they're both on the spectrum. And I remember when they were younger, I used to have people tell me, "You've got two very busy boys." And I had no idea what that meant until I babysat a little girl and I thought she was broken, because she just sat there and played, and she wasn't trying to dive bomb somebody off the couch or hit them over the head with a Buzz Lightyear doll. So I was like, wow, kids can actually play quietly without screaming at the top of their lungs, because I'm going to have hearing problems. I'm going to be needing an hearing aids in less than 10 years from now. But yeah, when they come home, no work happens. Once, and my husband comes home later and get the kids to bed, wrestle them to bed. Once it's quiet in the house, parent time or writing time, depending. But when I'm not writing, I'm thinking about writing. I've got ideas flowing through my head. I've got a notebook on hand because my brain, it goes a mile a minute and never shuts down. Interesting.
I'm kind of the same way, not with all the kids stuff, because my kids are much older. But as far as, I'm always thinking about something, and I do need to start carrying around a notebook with me, because sometimes when I'm at my regular job, I get these great, brilliant, I think anyway, ideas about what I'm going to do with the show and how I'm going to change things around, and whatnot. And by the time I actually get from the thought process to sit down to actually write it down, I'm like,
I think that's why they invented sticky notes, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. But sometimes
there's only so much you can write on them too. They're very small.
True. But my problem is, like, at my regular job, I'm not always at a desk where I could sit down and write a sticky note and stick it someplace. So it's hard to do that. But I can carry a little notebook, a back pocket type of thing, write it down, put it back. I got to start doing that.
I know. I used to have. I'm sure there's an app on my phone that I can do it, but I used to have this little recording device. And if I had an idea, now we have cell phones, and I'm sure there's something similar with that. I thought to look into that, because that's an option too. If you don't have a notebook, you can just say, hey, record this idea, blah, 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 and then listen to it later.
Yeah.
The problem is I'll have a million of messages and never listen to any of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you got to cipher through them all or sift through them
Yes.
all and then decipher them as you go through them. But
Yes.
the fun part of that could be is when you're walking around and you're out in public, you
Yeah.
can pretend like you're talking to like,
Yeah.
beam me up Scotty or something like that. Make people think you're crazy.
Depending on the idea, yeah, people are gonna think you're crazy. I don't know how many times when Bluetooth first came out, I don't know how many times I thought somebody was talking to me as like or talking to themselves. I'm like, okay. Oh, they're talking on a phone call. They just
Yeah.
ears.
Yeah, the little earbuds.
Yeah.
The guy I work with does that. He walks around. He has his earpieces on, and as he's walking, he's on the phone. He makes calls all day long, and every now and then he walks by me, and I'm thinking he's talking to me, and I'm like, what? I didn't say that, But
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. So
Yeah.
how has becoming a wife and a mother changed the way you think about storytelling and your creativity?
Well, there's less time, so I have to be a little bit more economical with the time that I do have. But I used to feel guilty about taking the time to write when my kids were home, like when they're in bed or something is when I tend to use the time, not, because then they don't need me, they're sleeping, but
Right.
also too, it's quiet. But my kids seeing me writing and seeing me working, and they're proud of what I've created, and I'm hoping that I'm leaving a legacy for them. But when I'd started, I kind of thought, my kids are not always going to need me, and I wanted to define myself as something more than a mom and a wife.
Mhm.
So, I've been a writer as long as I can remember. I think I'm going on over 35 years of writing since I
Wow.
started. And so I keep coming back to it. It's what makes me me.
Interesting. And,
Yeah.
35 years in writing. Wow.
Yes.
When you said that, I was like, how old are you?
I know, I tell that to people and they're like, "So you came out of the womb with a pen?"
Right.
Sure,
Yeah,
yes, let's do
well,
that.
well,
Go
that's
with
what I was
that.
thinking. I'm like, well, so you have 9 and 11-year-old, 35 years in this. Well, how old are you, woman? But-
Yeah, that's not a question you ask a
no,
girl.
not on the show. No, not on the air at least. Not at all.
Yeah.
But so up in there in Alberta, which I guess isn't so bad. Alberta's pretty interesting place.
Yeah.
I don't think Alberta represents the majority of
I've
Canada.
I've heard no, we're very much not Eastern Canada, and, I've heard it said that Alberta is the Texas of Canada. I've heard
That's
it
what I've
referred
heard
to
too.
because there's
Yeah.
a lot of cowboys and rodeos up here. Oil and cowboys and rodeos.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so again, different culture, different landscape. How much of that actually gets into the worlds that you build?
Oh, so I didn't grow up in Alberta. I was
Okay.
born and raised in BC, in northern BC, in the middle of nowhere. 300 people in the town that I lived in. It's not even on most maps. And so I spent a lot of time, there was a lot of forested area around. And a lot of that plays into my what I feel as far as the moods of my book. There's a lot of nature
Okay.
elements. There's a lot of exploration. There's a lot of, mountains and forests and trees and all that kind of stuff. But my family is also like Scottish Irish. And so I like those kind of elements as well. And to me, magic and nature and ancient, medieval times has always been kind of synonymous.
All right. Now, your family, how involved are they in your writing? Are they like your first readers? Your support system?
I would love to say yes. My kids are too young.
Yeah, of course.
I had to threaten my husband with bodily harm to get him to read my stuff. So he's not a fiction reader.
Okay.
And then when he did start to finally read my stuff, he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna, it's like 11. He's like, I'm just gonna read one chapter and then I'm gonna, go to bed." And then 1:30 in the morning, he's coming to me. He's like, "I hate your writing." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because I can't just read one chapter. I had to read 10 because you end it. I want to keep going." And I was like, "Well,
That's good.
isn't that a good thing?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yes, but not if you want to go to bed."
All right. I'll give him that. That's a valid point. I will give him that. So living where you do you feel more connected to nature, or you feel more isolated? How does that impact your work?
I love hiking, and I think that comes from me growing up in BC and being on, surrounded by nature and stuff.
Mhm.
So that's when I do my best thinking is when I'm alone hiking and or just out for a walk and fresh air and exercise and just being on my own. So a lot of times, I will just, play my shuffle, like my Spotify, whatever library thing, put my headphones on and I'll go for a walk and I'll let my mind wander because I see my stories as a movie playing out. And sometimes I can control where it's going to go. Sometimes I have no idea. And so it's always an adventure for me, but I will leave. I will be immersed in this idea. I'll come back 2 hours later. My husband will be like, "Where did you go?" I said, "I have no idea, but you should have seen the adventure that I had."
Oh, that's
I
neat.
know it's all in my head, but
No,
still.
I get it though. That's neat though.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that, what are you listening to?
Just anything with a good beat. I don't tend to listen to a lot of country. Some, like probably the 20s stuff, 1920s or 1920s. I mean
My 20s.
20,000s. Yeah, the 2000s and stuff. Oh my goodness, I can't even talk today.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's me
so
every day.
yeah, so like the early 2000s stuff, the stuff that's got a lot of beat.
Nice.
There's some new stuff. I'll listen to a lot of Adele because her stuff is just like it's got lots of soul in it. Some Taylor Swift, those kind of things. I'm a big fan of Johnny Cash, which is weird,
Who
but
isn't?
I love it.
But
Yeah.
who isn't?
So yeah,
I,
exactly.
I
I
love
love
Johnny
his
Cash.
my favorite song of his is A Boy Named Sue. That's like my favorite song. And then obviously you got to have, if I like Johnny Cash, I know I say don't listen to a lot of country, but if I do listen to it, Garth Brooks Standing Outside the Fire, Reba, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a big country fan.
No, I'm not either. I don't
I'm
like,
really not.
yeah, which is weird from where I live, because it's a lot of country out here.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Right. That's why we say Alberta is the Texas of Canada.
It's terrible. I used to like country. I did. I used to listen to it regularly until and
Yeah,
then my
same.
personal life became a country song, and I said, "All right, I'm done. I can't I
Yeah.
can't listen to this."
Yeah. Once
I'll
you
tell
can
you about that
relate
later.
to the song, you're like, wait, this is just wrong.
Yeah,
Singing my
exactly.
life and I don't like it.
Exactly. And they're
Yeah.
depressing. A lot of these country songs. It's always about
They
somebody
are.
losing something, losing
Yeah.
their house, their wife, their dog, their cat, their kid.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Or they're coming back or,
yeah. I can't. I deal with enough of it. I don't need to deal
yeah.
with it in music too. Now, so a lot of people have, or at least say they have ideas for books. I am one of those people. I have an idea for a book. It's been sitting in my closet in a sealed envelope since 1999, I think.
Why'd
99.
you seal it? Sorry.
Well, so nobody steals the idea.
Oh, gotcha. But,
It's like
they can still open it. It's not really
well,
sealed.
if they find it, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
You should
it's
seal it in your head.
it's postmarked. That's the point. Postmarked. It's
Gotcha.
the cheap
Yeah.
way of copywriting it.
Yeah, exactly. Like hide it in a, safe in the backyard under the
Right.
tree.
So if somebody comes out with an idea and it's just like mine, I can say, "Hold on a second, yeah, I got it postmarked."
Yes.
I got a book
There's
for
no
you.
original ideas out there anymore
Of
too,
course
though,
not. No, the
right?
Bible talks
Yeah.
about that extensively.
Yeah.
Solomon said, "There's nothing new under the sun," which basically means that if you thought of it, somebody thought of it before you. So
Exactly.
it's just the way it is. But a lot of people, like I said, have ideas about, or at least they say they have ideas for books. What separates someone like you from people who never finish one?
Oh gosh, for me, it started as a hobby, as a need for an outlet, turned into a hobby. I started writing because at the time I didn't realize it was because I had autism, but I was trying to figure out people so that I could communicate, converse, fit in. I thought I was an alien dropped off without the script,
Mhm.
and I was trying to figure it out. And I started watching people, and that told me a lot about people's behaviors, but it didn't tell me about what was going on inside their head. So I started reading because that was the closest I could get to getting inside people's heads without actually getting inside and put somebody's head because it's impossible unless you're got a chainsaw. It's not. I don't recommend. But then so that gave me an idea of thoughts and then the resultant actions. But these are fictional characters and only told me about those characters. So I started writing as that need to understand myself through
Okay.
my characters. And then it turned into a hobby, then it became a passion, obsession. Now at times it's therapeutic now. So that's why I'm saying I've been doing it for so long. I can't imagine not doing it. So
Right. Yeah. Now you tend to frame autism and ADHD as strengths. Um,
yes.
so give me an example, a real example of how that shows up in your writing process.
I look at things from different angles. I'm not afraid to see things as they are instead of seeing the, through the lens of what's acceptable, what's not taboo, what's politically correct. I explore things that other people might not want to explore just because I don't see it as wrong. I'm also the ultimate out of the box thinker, and I am very imaginative, very creative. I came up with my own strategies because at the time when I was younger, I didn't know how to. I didn't have the therapy that they have now. That my kids are getting help in school. There's more of understanding. And I mean, for example, I have dyslexia as well. And when I was younger and I didn't realize that, this is a strategy that they're using now, but I thought I came up with this. Or I'd take my book and I have my little bookmark because I get to the end of the line and get lost coming back. And then I just take my bookmark and I move it down. And then I move it down once I got to the end of the line and keep moving it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a teacher who came through the classroom and she saw me doing this and she took my bookmark away and she said, "That's not how you read." And so I'm like, okay, well, I need it, but I'm going to use my finger because you can't take that away, and
Stubborn.
it was just like, yeah, well, I used to like the people watching. I used to watch people and because I said I didn't have a script. I thought everybody knew, like they were all coming up with this. Why is this so hard for me? So I started making my own script. I'd watch people and write down the conversations. Like, this is what was said. This is what the answer. Oh, there's a smile. This must be what I need to say. So, being creative helped me to manage life. And then I applied that forward. I always say to my kids, I'm explaining it to them that the autistic brain is always on. There's no filter. We're seeing everything. We're hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, everything all the time. And there's no filters. It's like your computer. If you have your web browser open, you have a million tabs, you're doing all sorts of stuff. You're multitasking like nobody's business. You're looking for a file. You got music playing at a video somewhere. And in that moment, in that space, you're doing multitasking and you can do so many things all at once. Maybe you're not doing them all well, but you are doing a lot and you're seeing a lot and you're seeing things that other people don't see. And then every now and then it gets overwhelming and you get the swirly wheel of death and you have to restart. So, but before then you're doing a lot and you're seeing and everything. You can't shut it down.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I had a guest on the show. It was Russell Van Brocklin, I think that's how I said his last name. He developed an incredible system that you might be interested in. So I'll give you his contact information. You can check him out.
Absolutely, yeah.
His website. I know he was an incredible guest. I mean, I had a hard time keeping up with him, to be honest with you. He just blew me away with his whole system, and it works. It really does, and he does really great work. So I'll get you his website. You can check him out.
That sounds great. Yeah.
So why do you think most fantasy writers, or what do you think most fantasy writers get wrong about building their characters?
I don't think that they dive deep enough into their characters. I don't think that they put themselves as deeply into their characters' minds. I think they're seeing it from the outside and they're trying to create a character, one, that they think other people want to see, instead of the character that develops naturally. Maybe they don't let their imaginative muse take over. A lot of authors that I talk to say that their characters take over and they almost guide the story and take on a life of their own. And if you don't feel that at some point in your story, then you're either being too restrictive or you're plotting too much, perhaps. You need to have that moment where your imagination and your inspiration just sort of, you go into automatic mode and you're just a channel.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that how you described it earlier, do you think that makes the characters shallow and hard to relate to if you don't put yourself so much into it?
I think so. I've read some stories where the characters are just carbon copies of each other and there's no depth, there's no emotion. In fact, I have a hard time, figuring out which character is which. I mean, for a character to be effective, you have to know their history, their motivation, their emotions. You have to know, did they do they like dogs versus cats? And when I'm creating a character, I try to think, well, how are they like as a child onward? And especially like with my villains and stuff, I do this as well, where they didn't start out as a villain. I have to imagine and put myself like as if I were them and imagine, okay, what would have transpired in their lives to bring them to that moment where they became bad, because they weren't born that way.
I got you.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your book, since we've I think I've pretty much established your biography and your background there. So what are you working on right now? Give us the overview.
So I'm working on the 5th novel in my series, which continues my protagonist's journey. But I've also got a side project that I want to get a good start on, which is kind of a dystopian Robin Hood meets Romeo and Juliet with hints of Hunger Games.
Okay. I have to process that one for a second.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big sucker for, the unlikely hero, or, almost anti-hero kind of thing, triumphing over evil. I grew up in the superhero age. And superpowers, how is that? That's not much different than magic. But the only problem I had with superheroes was that they were morally clean. They, Superman wouldn't break the rules or jaywalk. He was,
Superman.
He could do no wrong. So to me, that doesn't seem like a real character. Real characters are people who make mistakes, and
Batman.
They have to redeem them. They have to feel like they need to redeem themselves. They feel guilty. They feel shameful when they do something wrong. They're trying to do right, but they maybe don't do it perfectly. Those kind of things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You made me think of Batman when you said that.
Batman is a darker character. He's more like a realer. He's trying to do well, but he's not. I don't know if he's got superpowers though. I don't think so. He's just very smart.
He's smart, technologically advanced, and
yes.
and has a pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else, but it's not appropriate. So we'll move on from there. So what can you tell us about the series without giving up too much information to where we spoil the whole thing?
Yeah, so I can give you the overview of the series, which is so there's our world, our time, coexisting magical realm. There's a veil that separates us. We can't see across this veil because we don't have magic. That's kind of the determining factor. But the creatures in this magical realm do have magic, and they can cross the veil, and they've entered our world throughout the ages and been the inspiration for our fairy tales and mythologies that we have. My protagonist is a young man by the name of Callum Walker, and he was born with the ability to use magic. He doesn't know why. He's trying to make the most of it. He's able to cross that veil. Or rather, he's dragged across the veil the first time, becomes embroiled in this magical realm. He's learning about this world and all the beings therein. Adventures ensue, and we follow him through his journey as he's trying to figure out who he is, where he belongs, because he's too magic for here, but too human for there, and master these abilities to survive.
So when you write your characters and you develop your characters, I understand that they're fantasy characters, so we take that into consideration. But do you pattern your characters after people that you know, or people that you've come across in your life, or your experiences?
I try really hard not to write characters based on people that I know. I think that would make the people I know feel uncomfortable. But as I'm writing my characters, I mean, there are people that I've met and aspects of personalities that I've seen and encountered throughout my life. But I also find that I put elements of myself into every single character. I don't think you could be as, entrenched in your stories and as deep into your characters without putting a little of yourself into them.
Okay. Now, is there a central conflict in the story?
Yes. Importance of family and friends, accepting who you are and being okay with that.
And okay, great. So why should people care about that? Why is that
Well, I
important?
mean, because we, it's an essential part of our confidence. We need to know know who we are and be okay with who we are. We're not perfect, and I think if we strive for perfection, to some extent that's okay, but we're never going to be perfect. So we have to realize that, reaching for that is not going we're not going to reach that end goal of perfection. But we have to at some point accept who we are and find where we belong and find our people and find our families and be happy.
I like that. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. What's a theme that you keep coming back to in your work, whether you plan on it, intend on it, or otherwise?
I think it's that a lot of times it's that sense of belonging. A lot of it is choosing our path and living with the consequences. So, we may try to do the right things, we may try to do good things. They don't always turn out good. But in the end of the day, as long as we're trying to do the right thing, the consequences that happen, we have to live with it and we have to accept that, well, we did this and I'm happy that we did this. I have to sleep tonight because, I did what I could and I did the right
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Now, if someone reads your latest book, what do you want them to walk away with it thinking about?
Oh, hopefully I want them to walk away thinking, when's the next one coming out? Um, but
I'm
my
sure your husband's looking forward to that.
yeah. My fourth book in the series had a lot of, so the third book in my series, my character suffered some emotional and mental trauma. And then going into the fourth book, I talked a lot about him facing that trauma, leaning on people he cares about, leaning on people he trusts. There's a lot of elements of trust and facing your fears in that fourth book in my series. And I feel that if anybody takes anything out of that, I'm hoping that they embrace that as an important element.
Yeah, that's really good too. Man, you're just knocking these things out of the park for me. So okay. So in the grand scale of things, so why should someone pick up your book instead of the thousands of other fantasy titles that are out there?
A lot of people who pick up my books, when I explain to them, okay, so it's a magic fantasy. There's lots of action adventure. There's some supernatural suspense kind of sprinkled in because I get bored easily and I like a lot of things happening. I use my initials, to publish because there's a lot of women that write in the fantasy genre that write romantasy. And although there's elements of romance in my books, I don't write spicy romance. There's no inappropriate bedroom scenes unless there's a magic battle or a sword fight happening in a bedroom that's plot driven. There's
Right.
no intimacy, like intimate scenes like that. And I think a lot of people like that. Because I don't know. I think there's a big romance audience out there, and I don't mind reading some romance and stuff. I'll just fast forward through the chapters that I don't like, or
Mhm.
that, just maybe it's too in depth and stuff. But I think I grew up with the old school fantasy adventures like Lord of the Rings, the Arthurian Merlin tales and stuff. And I like getting back to grassroots and just having
Yeah.
an adventure.
And that's good. I like that too. I'm not into. I'm an avid reader. I read a lot, and I read across a wide spectrum of things.
Yes.
And one thing that I don't particularly care for is when things get too graphic, and you know what I'm talking about with that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary, especially if I'm reading like example, I'm reading a fantasy story
Mhm.
in that in that style of like a Lord of the or again like a King Arthur story. Why do I need to have such graphic detail
Yeah.
about this going on? It has nothing really to do with the story itself. So I do the same thing. I kind of just skim through it. Okay, and try to get to the next fight scene. So
Yes, I know, my kids do that too. But I
yeah.
mean, like, if you go into getting a fantasy book and you're expecting it to be a fantasy adventure, that's what you're getting it
Mhm.
for. You want that adventure, you want that
Exactly.
action, and you don't want it to be like an interlude marathon overnight bedroom scene. Which is fine for some people. Like I said, it's not my cup of tea. I'm glad that we are all different and stuff,
Right.
because the world will be very boring. But yeah, for people who are just, they just want to get back to the grassroots and have those adventures and stuff, I don't have sex scenes in my books. It's just not my jive.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm like that too with movies, believe it or not. I don't like I'd much rather sit back and watch an old 1930s, 1940s, even some
Yeah.
of the movies in the 50s, because they started getting a little risque in the 50s,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
They're
I
showing some
like,
ankle.
yeah, there you go. I'd rather watch that. There's no cursing. There's no, you
Mhm.
know, it's not over the top, gory blood. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like every now and then to sit down and watch somebody get hacked to pieces. That's kind of therapeutic
Yeah.
for me in some ways. But because at least they're doing it, not me.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'd rather sit there and watch these old movies and stuff.
Mhm.
What did I watch recently? I had never heard of this movie ever, and I found it on Tubi. I love Tubi. I don't know if you get Tubi up in Canada, but
I don't get 2B, but my mom has it, and I've been told I should get it.
yeah, it's crazy. Like it's I saw this movie called uh, Devils in the Darkness or something like that, and it's a vampire movie basically,
Mhm.
but it's like the cheesiest vampire movie ever. There's no blood, there's no fangs, there's no bats, or at least not.
Is that like the Shaun of the Dead zombie it's very cheesy and
Yeah,
more of a comedy than anything?
well, no, I wouldn't say it's more comedy, but it's just it's a early 1960s, late 50s movie, and so they were trying to be somewhat respectful, so they didn't show a lot, but they implied a lot. But
Mhm.
I like it. I watched it. I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." I like the
Yeah.
style. I like the way they
Yeah.
spoke back then, and it's just very formal, very proper, very, that's the stuff I like. And so,
Yeah.
if I'm reading something or watching, all of a sudden there's this unnecessary, you know, full frontal action going on. I don't
Yeah.
need.
It's
Why
like,
is it
that's
there?
not why I'm reading fantasy.
Exactly.
That's not why I'm reading fantasy. Other people
For
read
sure.
for that, but
For sure.
yeah.
Now you also help young writers, and
Mhm.
so tell us a little bit about what you do for young writers.
So, I always see whenever I'm doing, events and stuff, there's people, that will ask me, it's like, "Oh, I wish I could become a writer," or "I'm writing something and I don't know what to do." Um, I I will give them my email, I will give them my card, I will tell them, "Reach out to me." I can't tell you everything, but I can tell you what I've done,
Mhm.
because somebody helped me to get published the first time, and they told me what steps to do, and they told me where to look, and I wanna pay that back, and there's so many young authors out there, myself included, that are just too afraid of sharing because they either have low self-confidence or they think that their stuff, because it's, too similar to something else, and,
Mhm.
just, trying to advocate that you won't know until you try, and I mean, for many years, I didn't share anything, and it wasn't until after my diagnosis in 2019 that I thought, well, maybe writing is my special interest. And that's when I sent my first book to an editor, just thinking the worst they can say is it sucks. And if they do, I'll just write for myself. But they came back and they said it doesn't suck. But had I not done that, I would never have known. And that's my biggest encouragement is just try. You
Yeah.
can't fail if you, yeah, I mean, that's like I said, that's the worst that can happen. If somebody says it sucks, then, at least you'll know.
What do you think the worst advice that a young writer is usually given?
Um, hmm. Probably the write what you know. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never fought fairies or elves or ridden on the back of a dragon. So I really don't know that.
Mhm.
So, but I write about it. So I'm not technically writing what I know. So, I think that's a kind of like, a difficult piece of advice. And I know I was told the same thing. It's write what you know. But if you write fantasy, how much of that do you really know? You know,
True.
you don't
I mean,
you haven't experienced those things. So how can you write about them technically according to that piece of advice?
well, yeah, I mean, unless you popped LSD or something like that, mushrooms or
Yeah.
whatever, maybe you
Yeah.
have. I
There's a
don't know.
lot of things that we're writing about that we haven't
That's
experienced,
very true.
but we can imagine it. I mean, how many people are reading like, um, you know, military books that have never shot a gun before,
True.
How do you know? They can imagine it, they can research it, they can ask other people how it feels and stuff, but that's not an experience that they've had. So, I mean, a lot of things that we know are not interesting. Like I know how to cook mac and cheese, but I'm not gonna write a story about that.
Hmm. Maybe you should. I'm always looking for a good mac and cheese recipe. So,
Yeah.
that
That's not
might
very
be helpful.
Canadian of me, like mac and cheese,
There
I
you
just
go.
realized that.
So do you think struggle is necessary to create good art, or is that just something that a lot of writers kind of like just tell themselves?
I think struggle means you're learning.
Mhm.
If it's too easy, then you might be doing it wrong. That said, if you are learning a new skill and you're struggle, and then all of a sudden it starts to become easier, it could be that you've reached a point where it's easier because you're learning. But I think we should always be struggling because we want to strive to be better than we are. And I think that it's an ongoing process, and we should never just stop and say, "Okay, I'm best. This is the best I'm doing. I'm not trying any farther."
Yeah,
You
no,
know.
that's good. So if your books disappeared tomorrow,
Mhm.
what would you want people to remember about your work?
I got really cool covers.
You
uh,
do actually. The two
yeah.
that they sent me were fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. I would want people to come away with the feeling that we need to find that place of belonging. We need to find that sense. We need to have that sense of adventure in the same token,
Yeah.
in the same paragraph in our lives, that we're trying to find our place in this world.
All right. Well, listen, Jam, thank you. This was great. This was a fantastic conversation. I really did enjoy it. You're a good sport. You have a great sense of humor, and I'm glad you were able to put up with my sarcasm. But before we wrap up, who is somebody that you respect right now, and what are they doing that inspires you?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Save the best for
I
last.
Yeah, exactly. I just recently discovered Brandon Sanderson, and I
Mhm.
heard that he's making either TV or a movie out of his books. And from what I heard, he fought to have rights and more control over the process. And I really respect that, because there's a lot of authors that turn their books into films, and they have to sign away a lot of their rights. And I'm
Mhm.
glad that he fought for it, because then it gives him more control in the process. And that's kind of inspiring.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Creative control is very important in everything you do. I mean, as someone who has a podcast like this, and you do podcasting as well, so you're familiar with the process and how it is to build things, and put your name
Yeah.
on it. And the one thing you don't want to do is give up the creative control over what you've spent so much of your time building, because they only wreck it. Nobody stays faithful to it. You are the best person to
Exactly.
decide the course of action that the
Yeah.
project is going to go. So
I mean, as a creator, it would be like buying the Mona Lisa and drawing eyebrows on her. It's
exactly. It's great. Good
yeah.
analogy. Yeah. Was not expecting that one. That was good. You got me. All right. Well, Jan, where can we go to find out more about you and about your work?
Best place to start is my website, jmshawauthor.com. There you can find the descriptions of my books. You can find the links to my books online. They're available on Amazon. They're available as a print. They're all on Kindle. First two books are on Kobo and Barnes & Noble Press. The others will be eventually. And you can see when my fifth book comes out. You can also follow me. At the bottom of my website is my links to Instagram, Facebook, and I've got a Goodreads account, so you can see what other people are saying about my work.
Outstanding. I know we have your website already in the show notes, so folks can just go right there right now. They can click it. Well, wait till the show's over before you do it. But you can go and you can click that, and you can find out all the great information about J.M. Shaw and about her work. And really appreciate it. This was great. Thank you so much. I really do
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
you spending the time. So
Yeah.
I'm going to throw you backstage, and if you want to just hang out back there for a minute while I wrap this thing up, and I'll touch base with you before we say goodbye.
Sounds good.
Hey, no failures tonight. Outstanding. Outstanding. Shh. Quiet. All right. I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
All right. J.M. Shaw, folks. Make sure you check out her website. I was looking it over earlier today. It's really good content on there. And, check out our books. Check out our books. I hope you enjoyed the conversation tonight as much as I did. This was a lot of fun. And, we always get really great guests through Creative Edge, and we really do appreciate their partnership with us. And, it's just some great folks. And so check them all out. Check them all out. All right. Shout outs, of course, tonight to our producing team, executive producer Wayne Rankin, Rosanna Rankin, Carolina Jimenez, Marissa Lee, and of course, the inestimable anonymous Angela. Thank you guys so much for all that you do for this show. I really do appreciate it. Now, folks, if you're curious we follow what they call a value for value model. And all that simply means is that if you are receiving anything of value from the content that we're putting out, all we're asking is that you return that value to us in the form of a donation. And that donation can be your time, your talent, or your treasure. We call it the 3 T's. And it's very simple to do. Just go to our website, joerooz.com/support. That's joerooz.com/support. And you can find out all the different ways that you can help support the show. You could do a one-time donation in any amount. You could do a monthly recurring donation in any amount. Or you can sign up to be one of the producers of our show. Associate producer is $17.76 a month. Our producer level is $18.36 a month. And our executive producer level is $25 a month. So you can check out all those options for you. And as long as you have the means to do it, and you'd like to, and you want to see us move forward and improve the process of what we're doing here, you can help us out in that way. Also, if you can't afford to do a monthly donation, that's fine. You can also donate your time and your talent. One of our executive producers does that for us, donates her time and her talent to help put these shows together. And to be honest with you, couldn't really do much of it without her. She's fantastic. So, but we're always looking for help. We always look for somebody to do audio, video, maintain the stream for us, social media stuff. If you're willing to donate your time and your talent for that, let us know. We would love to take you on and give you the keys to the kingdom, as they say, so you can do what you got to do. All right. And again, just head over to our website, joerooz.com/support. You can find out all of the great ways that you can do that. All right. Final thoughts. There's something that you see over and over again, and that is that people wait. They wait until they're confident. They wait until they're ready. They wait until everything lines up perfectly. And you know what? Honestly, most of the time, it never does. It just doesn't. What stands out tonight, for me at least, about JM Show's story is that it isn't just the writing. It was the decision to stop hiding it, to take something that felt like a limitation and turn it into an advantage, even though we really didn't talk about it too much detail tonight. But that's something that I took away from that. And that was from a private conversation we had prior to the show, and just little tidbits that she put out there during the course of the show. At least that's the takeaway from me. If you've got something to build, create, or say, there's a window where it absolutely matters. And if you don't step through that window, someone else eventually will. Somebody else will. So take advantage of the opportunity that it's there before you. All right, and I think that should just about do it for me. All right, folks. Well, thank you again for taking the time to be with us tonight. Really do appreciate it. Thank you to our guest, J.M. Shaw. Thank you to Creative Edge. And, folks, don't forget to head out to the website and leave us a message. Let us know what you think. Really would love to hear from you guys. All right, with all of that said, folks, make Texas independent again. Go podcasting. Keep a steady stride. And more important, folks, keep talking. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time. Good night, folks.